Is there a way to get a count on who's, how many people are actually watching the streaming on YouTube, or is it just going out into the dark?
I don't think there is live, but afterwards we can watch because it gets recorded.
Cool.
Yeah.
Hello, Ulf.
Hello.
How you been?
Pretty good. Pretty good.
Good. Sorry I didn't get back to you sooner. I've been visiting. We've had lots of visitors since our task group meeting. Partners on our Airbnb came for a couple weeks, and then my stepson came for 10 days. So it's just been, we just put him on the plane yesterday. So
Wow.
it's nice
Yeah.
though.
I'm actually looking at tickets now for my dad and my husband's mom because they're coming up for graduation. Trying to figure out all that fun.
Nice.
Yay. That's awesome. Hi, Shelly. Oh, she's still connecting to audio. Hi, Shelly. So,
Nope.
Ulf, this afternoon I was out in the parking lot, watching traffic and watching kids get into cars, and I saw this sleek black Tesla show up, and I was like, "Geez, who's in the? Oh yeah, I know who that is."
Ah.
That was really crowded out there today. We had a vaccine clinic going on next door, and it was hopping. There were so many people.
Oh yeah, they parked in such a way that you couldn't get around the parking lot even.
Yeah, there was a guy that pulled up, and I ran out to ask him to move, and he'd already gotten out of his truck. And it takes a while because you have to sit for the 15 minutes. Anyway, I was moving cones around trying to get people to not park there in front of the no parking sign. It's okay. At least they're getting the vaccine. That's all right. We can adjust.
Yeah, me and Ava had the same conversation when she got in the car. It's like, you can sort of complain all you want, but it's better that people come and take their vaccines than not.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
Right. Yeah. Now we
Yeah.
do have it where they're not going to give vaccines on the 11th, right?
Yes, that is confirmed, Brenda. So our graduation ceremony needs to be outside, and we're going to have it in the parking lot in that back corner, back by the trees. And it's basically where we had it last year, but we'll have all the students together instead of doing like 20-minute appointments like we did before. So it'll be nice. We're going to make it really nice. And we've got an event planner and a red carpet and some heaters and some tents, and it'll be really nice. So everyone is welcome to join. I'll send out an official invite to board members, but it's also on our website. So May 11th, 3 p.m. All right. So John, it looks like Alex is definitely not here yet, and I think we should go ahead and get started because he wasn't sure if he'd be able to make it.
Okay.
So before you do a roll call, John, I would just like to take a moment and acknowledge that we all live and work on Dena'ina land, and make sure that we take a moment to acknowledge that as an APC.
Mm-hmm.
So, thank you.
Awesome.
That's a nice tradition.
Yeah.
All right. Well, since Alex isn't here, I'll run it till he shows up. And the first order of business is determination of quorum and a call to order. And let's see, we have 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. Let me switch my mode. I think we just eked out quorum. Oh, Jim's here now. Yeah, we definitely have quorum now. So we can officially call this meeting to order. So the first order of business is a motion to approve the agenda. Has everybody had a chance to look at the agenda for the day?
Yep. I make a motion to approve the agenda.
Okay.
I'll second.
Excellent. Okay.
I'm sorry to interrupt.
Go ahead, Laura.
Who's taking minutes?
Todd is.
Todd.
Okay. Sorry about that.
No, that's good.
Good catch.
Yeah.
I just want to double check. All right. Thank you.
So, any discussion? Hearing no discussion, all those in favor of approving the April agenda, please signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Aye. Any opposed? Okay, well, the agenda has been approved. Next order of business is looking at the minutes for the February meeting, which suddenly materialized right on our screens. So take a few seconds to review those minutes and see if there's any questions or concerns. And I'll resume motion to approve the minutes in about a minute.
You page down a little bit, please.
Thank you.
I
Okay,
make a
well,
motion to approve the minutes.
okay. Do we have a second?
I'll second.
All right, we have a motion to approve the minutes and a second. Does anyone have any discussion before we vote? Okay. Hearing no discussion, all those in favor of approving the minutes to the February meeting, please signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Aye. Any opposed? Well, unanimously approved. Okay. So let's see if I can get back to my agenda. Suddenly it went whole screen and I lost my little Google Doc where I was watching the agenda. Public comments? Do we have any public that wants to comment tonight? I don't see any. There might be some live streaming, but I don't see any in the participant window. So let's move on to the principal report.
All right, hang on just a moment for me. My window closed, of course, so bear with me. Just a moment.
I'm glad it's not just me.
I've gotten so used to you being on your phone, John, that I'm not used to you sitting still.
I was saying to Amy, we're getting close enough that pretty soon we'll be able to have meetings face to face again. Although I think it's nice to at least have the option to continue to participate in Zoom.
Yeah,
Yeah,
I like it.
I think we'll be able to continue with that. We just got a 72-inch smart TV in the building,
Mm.
and we just need to get a camera mounted on top of that, and then we'll be set for zooming in for board meetings because it's
Oh,
a nice,
yeah.
clean, crisp set. So, yeah, we're very lucky. All right, so my principal's report. Here comes Joey. We have a couple of celebrations, and Kelly, I just want to give you a little bit of notice. I'll add you to this slide as well. So Kelly is going to do a quick presentation. Well, it's about 5 minutes, outlining some of the great work that our data review team has been doing these past few weeks. They've really been working hard, and they zoomed in really close to look at very specific data, and then they've just been zooming out and looking at the big picture through the lens of those data. So we're very lucky to have a solid team working on that. One of the things I wanted to share with you this evening was an email that I received Monday morning. And it was first thing, which is a great time to receive emails like this. And what I would like to do is read that email to you. Unless that window closed too. Oh, good. Here comes Orlandis. Oh, good. Here comes Robert. Awesome. All right, so what I'd like to do is just stop sharing so that we can all see one another. So I can read this to you. We have a student who's been at Highland for 2 years. This is his 3rd year, and he's really struggled academically. And we've worked really, really hard with him, and especially some of our TAs. 2 of our TAs have just gone above and beyond with this student. And this letter, the email I got was from his mother, and it was a letter of just really sincere and authentic appreciation. So I'd like to read just part of this. Oh, I had it all open and everything, and now it's not here. There we go. Okay, and I have his mother's permission to read part of this, but I won't use his name. I wanted to share with you how his first couple of weeks went. I know you've seen him in class, and I'm sure all kids are going through this transition, and he's never been good at managing those. The first day back to school, he came home smiling, and that's in bold and underlined. I cannot explain to you how that felt for me, as I haven't seen that since he was in 1st grade. He told me all week when he'd come home about how proud he was that he'd been able to complete his work or an assignment on his own. For most kids, this wouldn't be much, but for him, this is huge. I know he's had some of his typical struggles upon returning to class, but I wanted you to know how much he's trying and just how proud he is when he does these seemingly simple things like completing a simple assignment on his own. If you can, I know it would only benefit him for you all to verbally take notice of his accomplishments. I know you all work tirelessly for these children, and I know firsthand how hard individualized lesson planning can be. I appreciate all your hard work this year and the last. So that was a huge success, and it is and continues to be. And it's just been, as soon as I read that, I said, oh, I really want to share that in our APC meeting. And so she said, yes, go for it. So yeah, it was exactly what I needed Monday morning. And then the second thing, Mr. Clouchy has had his 6th graders, his level E social environment students, working on a really cool assignment where they are looking at propaganda and sort of breaking it down and trying to find the meaning of these cartoons that are based on propaganda. And unfortunately, I don't have that to pop up to show you right now, but he loves to share all of his students' work with us, and it's really endearing, and it's really wonderful for him to come up to the front desk and say, I just have to show you this really cool thing that this student did. So he's always really animated and happy to share cool successes. So that is, those are my 2 big celebrations. And then I'd like to turn it over to Kelly Doherty to walk us through some of the work that the data review team is doing. So Kelly, I just made you host and you should be good to go.
Share my screen. So the data review team, we took a bunch of data that Nicole Crosby had kept, like huge amounts of work and data, attendance data, who was leveling up, how many students needed to stay longer in a level, how many students were on pace to graduate, all of these like huge, ginormous spreadsheet. So we looked at all that data and we put it together in a few different ways. So Kara Sena looked at the data and she wanted to know how many students were on pace. So the orange are the students that are not on pace. And the blue are the students that are. The yellow are people that aren't in like language arts anymore. And then she looked at how many students are in each level. And so I don't know, I guess you can't see the key down there. Oh, you can. So we see that these levels are much bigger. And then when we get to the upper levels, there's not nearly as many students. and the big levels are 2 and 3. So we looked at math, and same thing. The blue are the students that are on pace to level up, and the orange are the ones that are not. And so we looked at that, and we saw a similar pattern. And in math, it's level 3 that seems to bottleneck them in level 3 math. So science, looked at science, again, the orange and the blue, and then social environments, orange and blue. So the key takeaways we got from her doing that, compiling that data, is nearly half of our students in math, language arts, and social environments are not on pace. And most students are in the middle levels. Very few students are in the upper levels. So that was observation number 1. Then I took, I wanted to know, after we looked at that data, I was like, well, okay, I'm going to look at all of my assignments from 3rd and 4th quarter in all my classes. And the red are the number of assignments that were not completed and turned in. So out of all the assignments I gave during 3rd and so far this quarter, 46% of them never got turned in. So then I was like, okay, so what assignments do they turn in? And so I was trying to find out what they're most likely to turn in. And so this is how that happened, that turned out. So daily worksheets would be something like matching or multiple choice or fill in the blank. And a written response would be, hey, tell me 2 things you learned today, or what did you think about this? And then same with the weekly. The short answer would be where there's like a right answer, like who was the governor of such and such a place. And then the written would be a more analytical response. So I looked at that and I was like, well, none of the percentages are great, but I did notice that the daily work was above 60% and the projects were above 60%. So then I looked at all of the assignments again, and I was like, all right, of the 56% that got turned in, how many of those were proficient? And it was nearly 80% of the things that had been turned in were proficient. And then there were like about a quarter of them still needed some revision. So my takeaways from that were projects have the highest turn-in rate of anything else. And if they turn it in 80% of the time, it's proficient. And so that was my key takeaways for that. So then we looked at the overall problem and we decided, you know what, the biggest problem then is work completion. They're just not finishing the work. So the reason they're not on pace is because they only turn in 46% of their assignments. So, all right, well, what are we going to do about that? So the 9th and 10th grade advisors got together last quarter, and there were 4 of us, so 4 different advisories. And we decided, well, we need to do something because what we're doing isn't working. And so we decided that we would implement a completion policy and work together as a team. And we were going to target certain standards, and we targeted the CCP standards. And so we focused on the career portfolio and standards surrounding that. And so each day we'd have a section of that to work on. So today is your About Me section. So you're going to work on writing a paragraph about yourself. That's what we're doing today. Tomorrow, we're going to go on to a career interest survey. Unless you haven't turned in your About Me paragraph, then you're going to stay with Mr. Completion until you do. And so that's how we did the whole quarter. And so students moved on only when they completed the previous part. So this is what we found. So this is PSS, which we did not focus on as much. So we had advisory quarter 1 and quarter 3. So at the beginning of the year, collectively, they had finished 477 standards in PSS. And by the end of Q1, they had finished 540. So then the beginning of Q2, the number goes down because enrollment went down, but they had collectively finished 464, and then they had collectively, I can't see all the numbers because your faces are there, but 493. So we're like, okay, all right. Next. Then we look at the CCP standards, and these are the ones we targeted. And we see that Q1, when we did not work together and we didn't have a focused target, about the same. Like they got some, but for a whole quarter, collectively, they only got 40 some. And then with the intervention of completion, we saw a significant rise in how many standards were achieved. And the red is how many standards were in progress, but not completed yet. So that number also went up. So we were encouraged by that because we're like, okay, so we did this completion policy and we focused in on these particular standards, and many more students achieved those standards than before. And this is just a different way of looking at that same data. So we want the completed to go up and the not started to go down. And we see significant change in the green, which is the end of Q3, which is at the end of our intervention. This is another way of looking at it. Simon Rose did these graphs, and lots of visual, the same data. So this is PSS. And so this is how many more were completed and how many fewer were not started. That's why this is negative. So you want more here and less here. And so with the intervention, we saw, again, a significant increase in those that we're working on and those that and a big decrease in how many were not started at all. And then he did the total, PSS and CCP, which, like I said, we targeted the CCP. So I feel like this graph shows the results of the impact of the intervention the best. So we were encouraged because we're like, it worked. There was improvement, measurable, significant improvement. And we continue to see that incomplete work is the main reason students are not on pace. And that from the data, our current system is only working for 50 to 60% of our students. Almost 40 to 50% of them are not on pace. So we're like, okay, so what are we gonna do about it? And so that's where we are now. And we are messing around with a lot of different ideas. But one of the things that we knew was essential for our advisory strategy and that intervention was that we worked as a team. And instead of each of us in our separate advisories going at these standards individually, let's all work together and all tackle these standards and all work with the kids. And that way we had somebody to work with the kids that were still struggling, and we had somebody that could run ahead with the kids that were ready. And obviously there were some in between. So there were 4 of us. We also did a thematic approach. We're all working on the same idea. And we only had 2 different levels really of CCP. But when we targeted an idea together, we're all working on the same thing. And then doubling down on the project-based learning, which the career portfolio is a good example of that, where it's more of a project. It's not just an assignment. So we're working from there. And so now we're looking at, well, how could we change our schedule? How could we change the way students are grouped? Really coming up with some pretty big changes and ideas. I'm really excited about some of the ideas we've come up with as far as how can we team teach? How can we overlap content areas so that you can have 2, 3, 4 teachers working with a group of students on multiple contents and multiple levels, but you can target specific areas and work together with the students. And I see Joan is here. She helped in the advisory in the Mr. Completion room. And that was a big help too, to have the TAs in there where we could break out students that really needed individual attention. They could work with the TAs there. So I don't know if you have any questions but that is what is in the works right now. And tomorrow is where we're gonna hopefully hash out some options that we could explore.
I like it.
This is great, Kelly. It's funny because I think we had a similar conversation just a few nights ago in one of our committees. And here you are with like all of these things. So yeah, awesome. Or thank you.
It's great.
I don't know how Orlandis and Robert and Joey feel about. They've been with us long enough that they know about, okay, going through more schedule changes.
This
But
is pretty cool.
yeah.
I guess it makes me think a little bit about what we used to have with academic review, and I talked
Oh,
to Birmingham a little bit about that, and yeah, I didn't know what I expected with sort of evolving that idea. So I don't know. Sounds pretty cool that some things like academic review might be coming back. I think that's a good idea.
Yeah. And one of the main problems we want to solve is students who stay in the same level for multiple years. That is what we need to stop from happening. We need to intervene right away and make sure they don't languish in the level and then get behind.
Mhm.
Yeah, thanks for sharing. I think this aligns nicely, to our performance goal as far as board members being able to, articulate things about our school and how we're doing. And I also, we know research as far as teaming, anytime you can systemize, even if that's 4 teachers within the school, we know if you do that and you corral around whatever that focus area is, that you're going to get a bump, you're going to get some impact. So I think that's fantastic. And scheduling is always a bear. And, I think Highlands in a unique spot and has always been, but in a unique spot to keep, being that experiment, and messing with it because you can. Let's figure it out. And I love you've always been that staff that's going to go out there and go, okay, well, that's not working, let's go try something else. So kudos. Thanks for sharing all that.
Yeah.
Yeah, the other thing,
bravo.
the silver lining of this current schedule that we're in is that we do all have collective planning time, and the conversations that we're able to have and the things we're able to share about students have been, I feel like it's been great. And so we need to find a way that we can keep doing it even when we go back to a more regular schedule.
That would be great.
Amen. Yeah. Awesome.
Well, I think it's going to be hard to finish the principal's report because our principal vaporized. She's not here
You
at the
got
moment.
booted off or something, I think.
Yeah, and I don't know, maybe she can't let herself back in, or I don't know, but let's hit the pause button on the principal report. We may come back to that if she rejoins us, but we can easily move on to agenda item 6, meeting the mission of the charter, starting with our committee report outs. And the first committee report out is the family involvement goal. And so can someone from the family involvement goal speak to the progress since the last time we met?
Sure. I'm gonna move things around here. So can you guys see my screen right here with the family involvement document? Okay. So so we've met twice in the last couple weeks. And what we did, we tried to just make some various updates. There was our main goals, just to summarize, are to work with families to identify business relationships, job shadowing opportunities, and with a goal of 3 school business partnerships by September of 2021, or a stretch goal of May, which probably won't happen. And then to host at least 2 community family work sessions or events to include community service, school improvement panels with diverse interests and cultural appreciation by October of 2021. And then to also have at least 5 families help recruit new students for next year from their former school by December 15th, 2021, with reminders to potential families in January, early February. And also the 4th goal is a night where seniors or graduating students visit their school with their families. And I believe we even said to invite other students too, to have guest speakers representing colleges or trade schools, talk to kids about where they want to go, bring in alumni who have graduated and are now in college, and do those things. So we added a number of what are these strategies, actions and strategies, and we started addressing some of the look-fors. I think I'll take too much time if I go through and read them all, but our 2 big deliverables that we came up with. One is the family engagement survey. So I wish, oh, and she's back. I was going to say, I wish Amy were here. She's back. So we built a family engagement survey a couple nights ago. So just asking for their basic information, the names and grades of their students, and then what you do. What are your hobbies, skills, talents that could be helpful? Who do you know? Who are your business relationships? People who could be helpful for job shadowing or internships or field, all of these different things. And then we broke it into a couple different sections. The first one being, excuse me, school events and activities. So we came up with some different ideas asking what types of events interest you and your family, so they could check all that apply. What times do you prefer for evening activities to begin? What evenings are best for you? And can you be available for daytime activities? So for different types of field trips and chaperoning options. And then if there's anything else that we should consider. So we'll all send this out so everybody has access to it. And if there's other thoughts on things that we might have missed, be great to hear from folks. So we put this together and we were hoping to get that sent out. And once we have that, then we could more easily put together, a Google Doc looking at possible partnerships and start to track these different things. And then we also had an idea, this was under having at least 5 families help recruit new students. So I have been working with Kodiak Middle School and on Kids to College program. And so they sent me a video that their high school students created to share with middle schoolers. Unfortunately, I don't have permission. One of the students, for privacy reasons, wasn't comfortable with it sharing out from me. So I'm the only person who's gotten to see it, but we thought that we could create a similar video and we could invite our seniors to put something like this together that would not only be helpful in helping prepare our youngest students, but could be also used, could make Highland really known in this way and use it for bringing in families. So these students, it was like nice sentimental music in the background, and very candid interviews where they asked specific questions. So the students clearly went through and answered every question, but they basically put some words up like, who are we? I tried to use different phrasing than what was used in there, so we didn't copy it. So who are we? And then you have one student come on and say, hi, I'm so-and-so and blah, blah, blah. And then they clip to the next student and there's this lovely engaging music. So it was, who are we? Where are we from? Where they grew up, what schools they attended, however they chose to answer it, where they're going, what are their plans after high school, how will they pay for it? Reflections, looking back, what would they have done different? in preparing themselves for their next steps. You know, like one of the students said, I really wish that I had taken my freshman year seriously academically. Now I know. Seeking out assistance. Where did you get help and advice? It wasn't just help in the college process, but like one girl, she says, you know, her reflection was, I really wish I took my mental health more seriously earlier on. I wish that I had reached out and gotten the help I needed, you know, and very candid, being able to share those kinds of things with other students who may have very similar challenges. And then reaching our goals, what helped you prepare yourself for the next steps, and what's your advice, whether it's for future Highland students, current Highland students. And so it was pretty awesome being able to see. This particular one was 5 students. We talked about how, you know, with a class of maybe about 20 graduating seniors each year, technically we could, you know, if all the students were interested in participating, they wouldn't necessarily all have to be spotlighted answering all the questions. Maybe the top 3 would be all of them. This particular video was about 11 minutes long, 11 and some change. So those were our 2 big deliverables that we put together, was kind of this list for a senior video and then the family engagement survey.
Okay, thank you very much. Is there any questions for the family involvement goal group? Questions or
Anything
comments?
else that the group wants to add?
Yeah. Well, that's good work. Thank you for that.
I did have one question that I just thought of.
Okay.
Last time we met, maybe the time before, we were talking about being this was started, the goals for some of these things, end dates were in May. Did you discuss adjusting those and move those forward?
Yeah, that's a great question. We did. We we moved the school business. Well, our hope was that the survey could be completed by April 30th, so that we could get it sent out. And that way, if we could have that survey done by April 30th, it actually meets both goal number 1 and number 2. Then we could work on trying to get that Google Doc together, maybe by May. We put May 10th. I'm not sure if that's reasonable or not, but we were looking at school business partners by September. So that gives us a little bit more time. We get that data from this group of families and are able to kind of look and see, is there some stuff in there? And then we did move the community family work sessions or events to October. So something we would start next year. And we pushed the family recruitment. We figured we probably can't quite do that this year to this degree. I mean, obviously we still have to do family recruitment to build our school for next year. But we were looking at least for making it an advisory initiative of getting 5 potential families. We couldn't really access this information. So we said, if each advisory invites 5 potential families or reaches out to former schools and PTAs by December 15th, there could be maybe a pizza party if the school reaches a specific school goal, which we anticipate hearing the school goal probably either at this meeting or the May meeting. Maybe, you know, an ice cream party for the advisory with top level recruitment, and like a survey and, you know, a form check off when people come in to visit the school type of thing. So most of that really taking place next year, with some of the prep work happening this year. And then, yeah, we put like January dates for the PTA. We also want the PTA PTSO to reach out to other PTAs as well. So that we thought that would be a good job for them to do. And inviting at least 1 alumni, 2 students, 2 parents, APC and PTSO. I think we technically already do this for the Visit Our Family events or Visit Our School events. And then, yeah, so we did make later dates, although we thought for the senior video, that could be potentially something that they might be able to do this year. And if possible, that would be awesome to have that. And I'm happy to talk with Amy later about seeing if we can make that a reality or not.
For the survey?
Well, the survey and then seeing if the senior
The
advisors
senior video. And
Oh,
I can always spearhead that with Amy since I've got one of them.
yes, you do.
Yeah, this one was done on Vimeo, and it was cool because they did it. It almost looked like a warehouse. It had to have been at the school, but we were saying, we could have it. It was nice that they all did it in the same exact spot. So you just saw the background didn't change, just the person, and it was really, really cool.
Yeah, we had actually talked about the seniors doing it maybe in front of the Phoenix or something like that, where the Phoenix is in their background and they're answering the questions.
That's cool. Yeah, I appreciate Todd's question because it's a kind reminder. We talked about this spring being the skinny and extending. I mean, this isn't a strategic plan per se, but all of our goals should be robust enough to take us through this next calendar year, this next school year, meaning, the end of May 22. So I think not in our May meeting, but looking at all of our plans and having kind of a check and adjust on deliverables and timelines and all of that would be great, because there's even if you're thinking, oh, we're going to knock ours out of the park by the end of December, well, that might be an opportunity to go deeper, right? And or the yes and whatever that is. So I think that's a good topic to put on our parking lot for startup of next year for meetings.
Yeah, and this, I mean, I think this is very much a circular committee in family engagement, right? Because we have new families every year.
Yep. Any other questions or comments for family engagement? Okay, well, thank you, Shelley. That's very interesting. Did you have
To
more
the
of the
committee.
Do you want us to finish the committee report outs and then go to the rest of your principal meeting, principal report? Do you have more?
The rest that I have has more to do with an action item. So that as much as that raised my anxiety level through the roof of being kicked out, that was actually good timing. So let's just continue with the committee reports, and then we'll go into the ESER funds, which is information I was going to give you for an action item.
Okay. The next committee report out is student progress and principal performance goals. Does somebody from that task group committee want to share their thoughts and ideas from the last couple months?
Yeah, sure. That's me and Jim.
Well,
Hey, you want to tag
Yeah, I
team?
was gonna say I'd love for Laura to spearhead that. She's far more articulate and eloquent than I am.
Well, we don't have Annie here, but yeah, we can just share the love. It's fine. So
Sure.
I will. I'm just going to project what we did as far we pulled out of our goal. We created just a short, skinny plan for this spring, which has a lot of notes in it, which you can take in later at your own leisure. But if you want, no forcing. But what we did as a committee is we did meet twice as well. Shelley helped us out as well on that. And we also had Annie. And so we determined for this spring quarter, if you will, that we were going to try to tackle these three pieces. We put the CCP kind of on the back burner for now and focused on, what can we do to boost our clarity as board members, being able to articulate progress. How can we learn? What makes sense for Amy and the staff to share with the board? So Jim did a lot of one-on-one time to kind of collect where we are as far as data on that. And then the other thing, I'll let Jim speak to that too. And then the second thing we focused on that I've shared with you in short form, was coming up with kind of a Band-Aid version for our principal performance review process. And I know we all know kind of how we felt about how we've done it the past couple of years. So our goal was to create something with Amy's input that makes sense, that would be more meaningful for everyone. So our look fors are, first of all, product. Did we create that and follow through on the process, which we're going to talk about a little later this meeting? And then the other one is determining what regular data reports will look like with Amy. Really wanting her voice as part of that. Jim, what would you add to what I said? Did I? Yeah.
Yeah, you hit all the highlights. I mean, I guess kind of like Kelly was saying, there's a lot of data that's collected at the school. So I visited with Nicole and Amy, and Nicole has quite the collection of data, it sounds like. And as Amy kind of shared with me, some of it is kind of hard to, I shouldn't say hard to explain, but you need to look at it with a different lens, because with our model, time is really the variable. So it's kind of a different approach to looking at things like MAP and peak score. So, as a subcommittee, we're not 100% really sure exactly yet what kinds of things might make sense to look at. I think that the kinds of data that's relevant and timely will vary throughout the course of the year, but we still need to kind of engage with Nicole and Amy a bit more about what kinds of things might make sense to share with us. And but I guess sort of a prime example is like tonight. I thought that was really valuable, Kelly, when you were sharing the work you guys have been doing. That is exactly, I think, what I needed to hear, just to kind of get a sense of like kind of what's going on, what are you looking at, what are you thinking about. That was really awesome as a board member, but also just as a parent of a couple of students who are in that. I think it was the orange that was shaded, like not on pace and not completed work. Those are my kids. So it's kind of reassuring for me as a parent to also hear that there are plans in place to help those struggling students. So, but that's exactly kind of like what I had in mind, like reports like that on data. That's fantastic.
Yeah. Awesome, Jim. Thanks for that. So overall, our goal with this is to figure out what's meaningful, maybe as a reflection, because Amy's doing these amazing principal reports. We want it to be something meaningful, but it's also on us, right? So as a board member, one of our major goals here, or look fors, is that we can articulate, we can talk about how learners are progressing at Highland, what kinds of data we look at. We can speak to some non-conventional forms, like how that are aligned to the vision, like whatever we come up with. So kind of that elevator thing. So ultimately, as we move into this, once we decide what that would look like, having real data talks to grow our capacity as a board, and to, maybe discuss the implications. Kelly just modeled that for us. And I think that's a great example of what we could be doing as a board. We look at that data and we think, what is that saying? And what does that mean for us as board members? So I think that's super cool, and excited to figure all that out. So that's kind of where we've gotten to this point. I think those are the biggies.
Yeah.
That's good. Does anybody have any questions or comments for student progress and principal performance goals?
I do. I'd like to, first of all, say thank you to all of the committees and the great work that you're doing. But I would love to have some guidance from the board on what you want to be on the principal's report. Because up until now, it's just been whatever I think you want to be on the principal's report. So I will openly welcome that, and would love for there to be a cyclical process even where you say, okay, in October, we want this information. In December, we want that information. So there, yeah, I love it.
Yeah, that's kind of one of the things we were talking about in our group too, is like, we're not quite 100% sure yet what exactly maybe we want, and that would vary throughout the year. But one of the things we kind of settled on, for now at least, was kind of hearing about some of the committee work that you're doing at the school, and how those committees are progressing and the work they're doing, and the challenges they're running up against and the successes they're having would be really helpful. But I really appreciate that presentation tonight, Kelly. That was fantastic.
Yeah.
Yeah, so I'm not sure because I missed the end of it, but I'm not sure if Kelly mentioned that a bulk of our work tomorrow in our in-service will be around the now what from those data that they've been reviewing. So there's a lot of like big picture planning going on tomorrow that will lead into the retreat in the summer. So yeah, they're
Awesome.
doing great work.
Awesome. So I think, yeah, that's a great thing to lift up, Amy, because I do think that's on us on the board a bit, and using your input and what you're doing, what y'all are already doing, and then us as the committee at least, and with the board, the rest of the board, figuring out, what's going to tell the story that we want to hear, that's going to help grow our own understanding and past capacity, but also it's not, oh, I got to go create this report on top of the other things. It's we're doing these things and it makes sense to make that part of the report. So I think figuring out all the data that's already out there, and then we're going to try to narrow that down to something that makes sense and that's efficient, but also meaningful. Yeah.
Yeah.
Good. Any other questions or comments for student progress and principal performance goals? Okay. Well, then, committee report out for collaborative protocols and productivity goal. Our committee worked on that over last month, and I don't know, Todd, Ulf, do you want me to start off and then you guys just pitch in some thoughts as you see fit? Yeah.
Oh yeah, you're the Google Docs champion and the spokesperson. Is the role that you've been
Okay.
assigned.
Well, let's see. Can I share my screen? Let's see. How do I request to share? Let's see.
I can help you with that, John.
Okay. Well,
Give me just a second.
oh, share screen. All right, let's see. How's that?
Perfect.
Okay, then let's get to, okay, yeah. Let's just concentrate on look fors, because we've already gone through the goals and the action strategies before. We met last month, and some of our look fors, they're on completely different scales. The easiest was the meeting agenda template, and you're seeing that meeting agenda template tonight. Had a conversation with Amy to see if she was willing to add our committee report outs to the agenda, and you're witnessing it right now. So that was a very easy look for that was achieved. The one that the one we concentrated the most time on recently, because it was a chunk of work, but it was also an easier reach, was the our compact, basically, which is still in draft form, but we're thinking that tonight it might actually be something that we can, after a little discussion, just move to adopt as a board. The Highland Collaborative Leadership Compact is kind of a agreed upon set of principles that we as APC are hoping to live by and expect of ourselves and each other. And we pretty much have it framed out, except for the one area which deserves a little discussion, but perhaps the easiest way to everybody, I can't remember, I don't know if you've had a chance to see this in its completed form or not. I don't think people have had a chance. So maybe what we should do tonight is just take a few minutes to look at it and maybe have a short, a real quick discussion about time commitment concept, and then either digest it, or if people just want to act to adopt it, then we can do that. But if people want to think about it and talk about it, then maybe we probably just make it an action item to adopt at next meeting. But basically it boils down to this. As members of our community chosen to help steer the course of Highland Academy Charter School, we understand that this honor and privilege comes with certain responsibilities that we all take on to ensure that the work we do well. In respect for the value and importance of our common vision, we each affirm to do our best to uphold the following principles. And then there's at present 5 bulleted items. Each bullet kind of is a standalone concept, and it can be, if we want to take one out or add more as time goes on, we can. But the first one talks about time. Collaborative work requires time and energy. We pledge to dedicate a minimum of how many hours? I don't know. How much time? I don't know. We got to figure that out, but it takes work. Collaborative, so I put in a minimum of 2 hours, and the reason for that is over there, but that's just kind of a filler item. We pledge to dedicate a minimum of 2 hours each month to the work in which we have entrusted and to which we have agreed. This work is understood to include participating in general board meetings, committee meetings, as well as time spent contributing asynchronously to APC goals through the reading and writing done with APC project documents and email threads. Again, this is the one, in a way, this is really where the rubber meets the road, because I don't know about you guys, but I've been on lots of boards and lots of committees where people sign up, people got their name on it, but sometimes they don't show up, and often they don't do any work. And that's not how a board thrives, and that's not how a Highland Academy leadership, hopefully that's not what we want. So we should think about that. But the other bullets that don't really require too much in the way of debate necessarily are below. I don't know. Laura, you got a sense for meetings better than me. Should I just do what I did and just read them fast, or should I just let people read them, or what do you suggest?
Oh, I think we can just do a silent read, a couple
Okay.
minutes, and
Is
then
it big
we'll
enough? I can blow it up a little bigger, I think.
open it up for discussion. It's short enough, yeah.
Okay, let me see if I can just make it a little bigger. I know how small it looked on other screens.
Big enough for me. I don't know if it is for everyone.
Yeah, it looks
Good.
good.
So go ahead and take a look at this. Does anybody need any more time?
You might want to scroll up just a smidge, kind of cover the preamble. There you go.
Okay. the compact pretty much addresses many of the ideas in the strategy and actions.
Yeah. I think I think voting would be a good idea if we think we can get come to consensus and do the thumbs, and then if we don't have it, we open it discussion. I think one of the areas, I mean, your 2-hour thing, probably we discussed that maybe before we vote. I don't know.
Yeah, I was thinking that's the only really wild card. And as I mentioned in my little comment over there, if a person were just to attend a board meeting once every month or every other month, that would work out to about 90 minutes per month. But that is not a way to thrive as a board. I can say that.
So then I move that the APC consider approving this compact as our standard operating procedures.
I second that. And I say we just leave the minimum of 2 hours that you put in there.
Okay, we have a motion on the floor and a second. Is there any discussion on the motion?
I'd like to just point out that right now we have it set up to have meetings every other month so that we can allow for committee time, and we can also allow for special meetings if we need to have special meetings or specific meetings. So I think that a minimum of 2 hours is really well said, because it implies that hopefully it's more than 2 hours.
Okay, good. Any other questions or comments before we vote? Okay. Hearing no other comments, we'll vote on the motion. All those in favor of adopting this is a Highland Collaborative Leadership Compact, please signify by saying aye.
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 Those opposed, nay. Okay, then the ayes have it. We now have a Highland Collaborative Leadership Compact.
Awesome.
All right.
Nice work.
Nice work.
All right. It's no longer draft. All right. So, great. Well, then returning to the other look for, which is by far the most complex, and it's a ongoing task. That is the collaborative processes and protocols document. And basically, this is pretty much going to be an expanding document that really kind of works as not as a board, but any collaborative group. It could be other elements, committees, and it's the processes that we agree are efficient and high functioning, that allow us to do our work quicker and at a deeper level. Right now, it's just framed out to be expanded over time. We have general APC meetings, processes for those, processes for task groups and committee work, processes for asynchronous collaborative work, processes for brainstorming and visioning sessions, and processes for goal assessment and evaluation. This is going to be a work in progress. This is what we're going to be working on over the not just this year, but next year. And there might be other things that we want to include, and it'll be reviewed and expanded over time. But the goal is to just help our collaborative our collaborative abilities. And Todd or Ulf, do you have anything to add? Because that's
Yeah,
pretty much what we got.
just that we're hoping to put together this kind of process tools that every subcommittee, no matter what the topic's going to be,
Mhm.
will work in a uniform way over the years moving forward. So when we come to our committee reports, we're reporting in similar manners. We know, like, if we want to present something for approval by the APC at large, we will maybe need to give a month notice to make sure it gets on the agenda item instead of wrapping it into elongating a meeting with that type of thing. So all of those little pieces we're continuing to develop.
Awesome.
Nice.
And that supports our compact, right? Kind of those procedural efficiency pieces will nourish that compact as far as how we collaboratively behave. So I love that. It's awesome.
There's that eloquence, John, procedural efficiencies. That's what I was looking for.
Oh, I like that. Oh, Laura's got it. Anything else? Anybody have any questions or comments for Collaborative Protocols and Productivity Group? Well, I believe we have completed our first committee report out session. So
Woohoo.
Amy, you can grab the screen back if you want. Let's see, is there some way to?
Nope, you're good. I think I can take it back anytime.
Okay.
Yeah, so thank you. I just want to acknowledge that it took us a long time to write these goals based on the board evaluation, but it was so worth every minute that we took to make sure that we were intentional about these goals. And it's really great to have these committees established. It really feels like the board has some direction and some really good focus. So thank you. I really look forward to future meetings and learning more about all the great things that can be done. Yay. All right.
So we can get back to the principal report, and that's rolling into your action item, as I recall you said.
Yes, it absolutely is. So let's see here. So about a year ago, a little over a year ago, when all of this stuff was happening with COVID and we weren't sure how long it was going to last, we were scratching our heads in the spare minutes that we had to think about the future and just question, like, how are we going to continue to meet our students' academic needs, and how are we going to continue to meet their social emotional needs and their mental health needs, and all of these things that, teachers wear a lot of different hats. And also acknowledge the different places that all of our students were in this past year. Anywhere from, two working parents working from home, helping their kids with school, to some of our students were babysitting their younger siblings while both parents were off to work, and anything in between, and pretty much anything you can imagine. So there's been a really big discrepancy of support for our students, both academic and social emotional learning, just because of this past year. So we are really, really fortunate because we are receiving ESSER 2 funds, and these funds, it's essentially the CARES Act Part 2. So this is federal funding that's coming directly to Highland and all charter schools and the district. And just a little side note, it's because of the ESSER 2 funds that the district is able to get by this year on such a deficit without doing a reduction in force. So they're using a lot of their funds to make sure that they have all the teachers they need in place for next year, hoping that enrollment will stabilize and get back to where it was in pre-COVID days. So we need to focus on student achievement, and that doesn't necessarily need to be academic achievement. So we can think of this as teaching to the whole student. We need to spend these funds. Actually, we could have started in July, but we didn't know about it in July. But we've got until 2023. to spend $197,000, which is really, really great. We can spend this on anything that that responds directly to student need as a result of COVID. So, you know, given that we ended up projecting a little bit higher than I think most of us were comfortable with, just because the future was so uncertain, we might want to consider stowing away some of those funds for a rainy day in case we don't meet our projected enrollment for this coming school year. So I wanted to give you some numbers to look at so that you could sort of use that as an idea of what we're looking at for enrollment, so you could make an educated decision this evening. So our current enrollment is 159 students. We will be graduating by June 30th, 15 students. I sent out a survey to parents, and we got a little over half responses, which is pretty good, actually, 50% response rate. 89% said, absolutely coming back next year, reserve my seat. So if we can extrapolate that to the others who didn't complete the survey, which hopefully we can, we only had two who said we're not sure, but we're leaning towards re-enrolling. We had two say we're not sure, but we're leaning towards transferring. And then we had 4 say we're not coming back next year. And I didn't send this out to seniors, just so you know. So if you didn't see this, Brenda, that's why, because we didn't want to skew the data. So in our spring lottery, we had 15 students accept seats. When I created this PowerPoint earlier, or last week, at the end of last week, we had 2 who are currently on our fall lottery list, and I'm expecting about 5 more, just based on student-led tours and emails and phone calls that I've received in the next week or 2. So that's not as good as we hoped. But what that would mean is, in order to meet enrollment, we would need, our projected enrollment, we'd need about 40 more students between now and October 1. So I went back and looked at some historical data, looking back before COVID, when life was different. We had 37 students enroll in the fall lottery, actually accept seats in the fall lottery. And then we had an additional 12 to 15 enroll after the lottery, because we had open enrollment. So I'm feeling pretty comfortable with our 40, especially because when we had our school tours in February, our Zoom sessions, at the secondary level, you know, a lot of people were thinking about just starting back up in-person learning. So I don't think there was a lot of, or enough, people really thinking about next year. Everyone was kind of focused on the upcoming month. So I'm hoping that this number, and expecting this number to really grow this over these next few months. So what I did is we did a little activity as a staff last week at our meeting, and I essentially gave everyone $20. And I said, we brainstormed some ways that we could spend this money, because I knew that when I said to you, I'd like to spend it on this, can I do that? You'd say, well, what does the staff think? So I've got some answers for you. The number one, the largest amount was $54, and that was for a counselor, to secure a counselor for 1 year. And then we would be able to continue with that counselor if our enrollment continues to hit our mark. And then we wouldn't rely on those ESSER funds for that counselor. So that would just give us a counselor for a minimum of 1 year. The second biggest expenditure was a counselor, committing to a counselor for 2 years. And if we commit to a counselor for 2 years, that's essentially just spending all of that money right off the bat. The third greatest was a TA, a third TA, whose job would be to focus on our students' 504 plans and making sure that accommodations are being made for 504s and helping to monitor that in the classroom. And then we have a bunch that tied at like, or not so much tied, but we're in the $30 to $25 range. And those are enrichment activities and can continue, or excuse me, including contextual learning opportunities, academic enrichment, and just life enrichment. So this could be like an extended school day for students. It could be in these contextual learning opportunities, putting maybe $8,000 into field trips for this coming school year, where we're really getting students out into the community, learning about their culture, learning about their environment, and really putting energy into enriching what we're already doing. Staff also wanted to spend some money on professional development, and I think this is really important as well, because we've learned a lot of tools this last year, and we've learned a lot of skills, and a lot of them can be implemented into our everyday practice. And I would like to really focus on and reflect on what we did this year as a staff and what we were able to accomplish, and really embrace that and enrich that opportunity as well. So those are the big areas that people put their money on. We had a couple of suggestions for toys, like a classroom set of bicycles to get kids out biking. But then, we were reminded that ASD has classroom sets of bicycles that we can borrow once a year. So, and there are other resources that we can tap into for those types of things. So we could also use this for technology, and we might want to consider purchasing more of our smart TVs. That we've got one, like I mentioned, that's on a stand, and so we have teachers that borrow them and take them into their room and use them for the class period, and they're really nice. They're nice to have. So we could also put some of that money into some hardware for our school.
If I could just make one comment, sorry. As we're thinking about this, to definitely consider things that the PTSO maybe can't buy as priorities, because of course with our gaming account, we only have so long before we have to spend the money we bring in as well. So that would just be my only suggestion, is while we're thinking of this, think of stuff that the PTSO can't buy that are priorities for the staff.
Absolutely. Yeah, and so really the main thing is staffing for that. So a counselor, let's see. So I needed to go through all of the benefits that a full-time position would include, because we would need to budget for that. So a counselor, base salary for counselor it ranges, right, depending on experience. So we're looking at, with benefits, about $90,000 to $100,000. So that's just about half of that for a one-year counselor. Let's see. Another place that I would like to put some money is in added duty and added days, so that we can have those enrichment activities either after school, on the weekends, during winter break, during spring break, after May for our summer school programs. I would like to consider hiring a TA, probably less than 6-hour TA. That would be about $45,000. Put some money towards a sub to our sub fund, so that we can support some of that staff professional development. And let's see, contextual learning opportunities and staff PD. I'm thinking like $5,000 a piece for that. And to Brenda's point, we need to spend this money by 2023, or else we lose it. And the place that we're at right now with our budget, we don't want to lose any money. We want to maximize that as much as we possibly can. So I think the biggest thing that I need from the board this evening is an idea or a sense of how much you think we should reserve for a rainy day in case we don't meet enrollment. I don't want to spend it all at once, but
Brenda, does the PTSO, I mean, would the PTSO be able to fund the contextual learning component?
Yes.
Okay.
Basically, anything that benefits the student, we can buy with our money.
Mm-hmm.
Where we wouldn't be able to buy is like staff payroll, or the technically, if a teacher stays after school for chess club, we could buy the chess stuff, but we can't pay the teacher.
Right.
So it's kind of a fine line of where we can. Like we've bought a bunch of like the smart boards, the smart TVs she's looking at. We can absolutely buy those,
right,
if we wanted to. Those kind of things.
mm-hmm.
I feel like
and professional development, we can pay for those courses too, and we've done that as well. It's just
we can do that too. All right.
Yeah, like we paid for some, right? We approved paying for some conference fees.
Mm-hmm.
And I don't know if that came out of our gaming account or the other one, but because of the gaming account, we have a little bit more flexibility.
Yep.
Yeah.
I think for me, for the rainy funds, to go back to Amy's, thank you for that. That helps me. That helps clarify. You know, the rainy, we don't want a rainy fund. We want a rainy fund. The rainy day fund, you know, part of me, I feel like based on what you just rattled off, not picking the counselor, you'd put 100,000 away. That would give you the TA, and the other components that you listed off, plus probably a little extra towards PD. For me, I feel like PD is an investment. Whereas, you know, the counselor, if you hire the year or the 2-year, you go for that, which I don't know that the board would support that, but that's going to go away. And so when you get the counselor, can you capitalize on that counselor to provide some non-counselor type PD to the staff? But I don't feel like that's going to be a forever staff member at Highland, right? And so that's kind of my thinking. It's invest in the things that you know you can probably at least adhere to a little bit longer, and then that 100, you know, put half of it away to see what happens after enrollment. I don't know. I don't know if that's smart. That's just me rattling off.
And just to let you know, Laura, when Amy and I were talking as the treasurer, the very few times I actually get which is fine. But when we were talking, we were kind of thinking, okay, if we put some of this money towards the counselor, hire her for the year, the hope is our numbers go up enough that we can keep a counselor, because I can honestly say in the past 7 years, the years we've had a counselor to alleviate some of the issues, some of the jobs, I guess is a better way to put it, from Amy and Nicole, it's been great. And the students have benefited, and it's made it easier on Amy and Nicole.
And
so
I would
add
also advisors too. I would just add that person really helped with advisory.
In worst case scenario, okay, we initially only have her full-time, and then she would go to then half-time if we couldn't afford to keep them full-time. And we're not talking about like just a college counselor or just a,
oh no, I understand.
She would do everything or could.
Yeah, we would be really intentional about building a counseling program with that person, which is something that I realized that we could have done a much better job on before.
The fact that it's the staff's number 1 and number 2 highest recommendation weighs heavy with me.
Yeah. It's a
Um,
hard call because, you know, you get it and then it goes away. So I think what you just said, Amy, is, and again, yeah, the staff voice is huge on that. I think what you just said is probably key, that if we put the funds towards that, capitalize on it for a long, like, okay, let's just pretend the counselor's going away next year. What can we do with our own professional learning and practice too, to learn as we have the counselor and from that counselor and with that counselor to do things for when we no longer have the counselor, right? So I think that would be a huge, that would be for me a way to look at it like an investment beyond just, oh, we can't afford it anymore, and that stinks, right, for the kids and for everyone. Yeah.
Yeah, it's not easy. Yeah.
My thought is that if we budgeted for if we signal board approval to commit to a counselor for 1 year, that you need that information right away or soon, because you're creating the budget for staffing, but that everything else could be much more flexible. We can continue to pull smaller amounts. We don't have to decide everything right now. We just got to decide the big things that you need to build your budget with now. And you can bring up other things as time went on. So I'm wondering if there is anybody who would entertain a motion to support a counselor for a year, and if we could make that kind of the foundation of what we commit to tonight, and then just grow the rest in the future. And that's just a thought. I don't know what you guys think, but I don't think we have to decide everything tonight. I just think we need to decide the thing that you build your personnel budget around. So
I'll definitely make a motion to hire a counselor for a year.
Second that.
Is there any discussion?
And that would mean the rest of it goes into the rainy day fund? Is that what we're saying? Or
For now, yeah.
For
now.
now. For
Okay.
now.
Just clarifying.
Yeah. I've already brought up my discussion point, which is, it sounds like the staff thinks is very valuable, and with Laura's caveat that plan from the assumption that this is a 1-year blessing and make the most of it, and then cross your fingers and maybe it'll be more permanent. I think it's a good idea.
Okay, so wait until October 1 to spend more money until we know enrollment. Yeah. Okay. Well, and as you know, I realized too, we can use some of our school improvement plan funds for added duty and added days. So really, it's just the counselor, TA. Even with subs, I think we can use the SIP plan for that. So. Okay.
Any other discussion?
Todd.
Yeah, I would be speaking in opposition to this motion. I don't feel like a single year is going to gain enough traction for the importance that we had placed on the need for mental health services at our school at any level, when we were fully in distance learning and kind of reeling from that 1 year knowing it's going to automatically go away just isn't enough time to gain traction with implementing new programs.
Do you think it has to be 1 year? We have enough rainy day funds to do it for 2 years. We're just holding off deciding.
that's what I would support, putting all my chips in that 2-year basket so we can have consistency over time, and truly use that PD opportunity and potential through another retreat season, through other 6 PD days and in-service days instead of 3 type of a thing.
Okay. Kelly, your hand?
I'm kind of in agreement with Todd, but maybe for a little bit a different reason. I think counselors in looking for a job, it's hard to commit to something that is only guaranteed for just this year. And so I think the number of applicants and the quality of the applicants that we get when we can only tell you that this job is maybe only for a year, I think that's something to think about too. When we know some of the issues that our students have, we really want a quality person that can really invest in our students and our staff and become connected with them, which is hard to do if you know you're only going to be there a year.
Good point. Ulf, your hand's up.
Yeah, I'm in that track too, is that knowing for myself, hiring people, telling them that you can only hire for 1 year lowers your the people who will look for it. So if we do have funds that could support a multi-year commitment, I think we should do that, because that will give us the chance. And I mean, as we can see on numbers, it's as said, and we're not going to come back in a year. We're going to need the focus, and that will also give whoever comes in together with the staff, and I mean, to be able to get a good move forward for everyone. That's my view.
Well, you all make a good case for that. Jim?
Yeah, I was just gonna, I mean, I don't disagree at all with everything that people have said. I always kind of think that every job in education, we always go into assuming there's no expectation of rehire. I mean, we always hope that everything is going to be a good marriage and funding is going to be solid, but I don't think I or anybody else has ever assumed that whether it's a teacher or an aide or a cook or anything, that's going to be a multi-year kind of thing. Because the other comment I had was, if we do commit to 2 years, and I do see the benefit of saying, hey, this is we got grants for 2 years, but if we did that, we put all of our chips in that one bet, and we don't make our enrollment projections, does that mean now we have to cut a teacher or two because we don't have the funds for it? So we would be bringing in a counselor, but maybe losing a teacher somewhere. Amy,
Yeah.
is that what would probably end up happening?
Yeah, can I speak to that? So our counselor would be part of the union, and so if there was a reduction, or if we didn't meet projection, we would have to have a lower budget. And just like when we hired our first counselor, that person totally understood that if we didn't meet projection, that the position would be reduced. And so when we had to reduce the position, it made it a little bit easier, because the person knew ahead of time and knew a year before it had to be reduced. So that definitely helped. And then once they're reduced, then they get top priority for transfers. So that does help too. They're still in ASD. It's not like they are left out on the doorstep. So yeah, everyone has a 1-year contract. So I don't think we could even offer a 2-year contract, but we could say we've got funding potentially we have funding for up to 2 years. And if you really connect with kids, then our enrollment's going to go way up, and then you're on, right? But we can't hedge our bets on if we build it, they will come. Because as we know, it's a volatile world. Everything's changing quickly.
Are you almost saying, am I understanding you that if you're almost saying that if we can't really promise somebody a second year anyway, but if we had the money in the rainy day fund, we could mention that to them? Okay.
Yeah. Yep.
Well, that kind of splits the difference between Now I don't know what this, what does voting, what does it mean to propose then having a counselor for 2 years? It just means keeping more money in the rainy day fund the first year, right? For practical purposes.
Essentially, yes, unless
Oh, okay. Ulf and then Shelley.
Well, it sounds like Mio's response was that you can't really hire for more than 1 year at a time, however way you want it. So the way to do it is hire, and as said, if you want to make sure that you can have for multiple years, try to not have any other reasons to spend it. But as said, it's good to have that money there if we totally miss our goals on enrollment, and then be able to use it for other personnel reasons until we get back. So I've now understood more of how the whole hiring and retention concept works. And so I'll withdraw the idea of trying to do something that doesn't sound like you really can do.
Shelley.
Yeah, if I'm hearing Amy correctly, it sounds like as much as it's nice to be able to try and entice somebody with 2 years, what I think I'm hearing is that that's not really necessarily even expected, that most folks taking this position know that, okay, you got a year and you're hoping to keep going if it's a good fit. And if, yeah, that's what I think I'm hearing.
Okay.
All right.
Yeah, Todd.
I just was going to ask if you could remind us of the motion.
Yeah, the motion was to approve the recruitment of a counselor for next year at Highlands. If I understood it.
Was it
yeah,
with the
okay,
rest
I'm
going
reading
into
that.
the rainy day fund for now until October 1st,
Yeah.
I think.
Yeah.
Yep. Yeah, my motion was to hire a counselor for next year and the remaining balance to go into the rainy day fund.
And I can't remember who seconded that. Oh, it was Ulf. Okay. Is there any more discussion? Okay, hearing no discussion, we have a motion on the floor. All those in favor of approving the recruitment of a counselor for Highland for next year, please signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Aye. All those opposed, nay? The ayes have it. Okay, well, that's good. I learned something. Amy, we're back on the agenda. Do you have anything else that, let's see, principal evaluation, item C.
Item C, yes. Laura, do you want to share what you emailed out?
Yeah. So, and did everyone get the process? Not that you needed to review it per se, but if you have pushback or additions, definitely either post comments or email me. And I am not going to go through the whole thing, but I do. One of the reasons it's on the agenda for this evening is that due to the length of this meeting, we wanted to set up a May time, and it could be shorter. Maybe it's just our normal time and we go until we're done, but for dedicated to Amy's performance reflection with us. And so because we did not have that date, we need to set that up. The process lives in our material folders. So the main thing that, Amy's getting to choose her topics that she's focused on from that menu. And our main role would be, and this, we can go over this quickly during the meeting, but I would just coach you to review it if you haven't. And then, and I'll update it once we get the meeting date. Our protocol there would be to react to her reflections. We will kind of go in some cycles based on her topics that she chooses. And we will use this protocol to kind of just help us frame how we want to respond. So unless there's clarifications other than just I need to go process that with myself.
I'm sorry, I'm not
We
muted.
just need to that's okay, Todd. We just need to set a date for that time. And I've communicated with Amy. We went back and forth a little bit on it. So she's been made aware before tonight, just so you know. It wasn't like, oh, here it is. Because the committee really wanted to try to, because we were already behind, try to get that out. So yeah, it's just
And I do
determined
need
date.
clarification on something.
Please, Todd.
I can't participate in this, right?
You cannot.
Correct.
We've
As
we've
a
had
teacher.
we've
As a
had the
teacher.
staff
Yeah, what did we do
had
last
the
year?
staff give us input in the past, because it's not like you're the sole person having a say. It's all of us. So we have taken the staff input in the past.
Yes. Yes, that is true. You staff has participated in the
Students
process.
too.
Yep. Yep.
Okay.
Other
Any other
thank you for that.
questions?
That was a good one. Other ones? All right. Well, then it's just a matter of a date, so that we all have it on our calendar and Amy's aware. And I'll probably extend an invite or a reminder. I don't know if yeah, we haven't had Nicole come in the past either. That's true. Anyway, I'm talking to myself. Whatever. The date. If we were to stick to our usual, it would be
If
May
we do the
13th?
third Thursday, then it's the 20th.
No, it isn't the third. I thought it was the second.
right.
And that would be the 13th, which is just after graduation.
Yeah, literally right after graduation. And I may or may not be able to be there for that. Not that that should be the decider, because I'll have family in town.
What about earlier so that it's before that? Because I'm sure Amy has tons going on graduation week. What about the 6th?
That would work for me.
Is that okay with you, Amy? Yep. All right.
Should be
So
good.
we'll set it up for the 6th then.
Once again, I may or may not be there because I have 3 weeks of family between the two families coming in, and I don't want them all here at the same time.
Yeah. No, you're doing the best you can. It's okay. Amy, would you mind sending out an invite to that since it's not on our regular rotation?
I'll do it right now. 6 p.m.
Perfect.
Yes, please.
For the minutes clarification, that's May 6th, 6 p.m.
Yes, please. Yeah. It's a 6-6. That's right.
Oh, yeah.
Hey, 6566, whatever. I just messed that up. At 6. Just tell me to be quiet. That's what you do. So I did have one other thing. Normally we do a board evaluation in addition to the principal, right? But because we spent so much time on our last year, I mean, I feel like we're just like, we have our goals and that's kind of our evaluation.
Mhm.
So unless there's pushback, I would suggest we not do a self-reflection, a board evaluation, and instead stay the course on our skinny plans. We'll be checking each other all year on that and then go back to that tool 2022 based on how we do on our goals.
Does anybody want to make a counter argument? I'm all for that, but okay. I really like having these screens. You can actually see everybody's face, and that's good. All right.
Yeah. And it'll be cool because we'll actually be able to have, I mean, we'll have some authentic evidence on all of those standards, particularly the ones we picked for our action plans. So that's,
Mhm.
I just wanted to throw that out there because we hadn't brought it up and I was like, oh yeah, usually we do our board evaluation. So, okay. If everyone's cool with that, then I think we're good.
Good.
And I'm actually really happy because for the first time from our board evaluation, it actually feels like we've done something
Right.
Yeah.
Yeah.
that we've wanted to do, which is
Mm-hmm.
really nice.
Yeah. Especially since that recruitment year. I felt like that year we were like, all right, we're focusing on that. We're focusing on that. But yeah, we kind of needed to get back to that, some focus areas. So cool. I'm really happy everyone is feeling good about it. I loved hearing from all the committees tonight. So it's good.
That's good. Well, we have run through all the items in the meeting of the mission of the charter. Is there anything else for the good of the order?
I have two things.
Okay.
Real quick, on our YouTube channel and on our website, you can watch the 5-minute promotional video. It's not as good as what Shelley described, but it does include students, 3 different students, a
So
teacher,
sweet.
Miss Crosby, and I would show it to you tonight, but I've seen it so many times. So feel free to go check that out on our website. And then also we need to get everyone some Highland gear. The PTSO bought a bunch of really great new t-shirts and sweatshirts, and they're for sale, but I bet we could work out a really good deal with a PTSO. Our student government had a spirit day, so everyone wear your Highland gear, and we've got masks and t-shirts, and everyone's just we've got a white sweatshirt and a green long sleeve shirt, and just everyone was just wearing their Highland stuff, and it was really, really cool. So we need to
I
get
want
some Highland swag for sure.
Yeah, I love.
Yes, sounds good.
Oh, Todd has his hand up.
Yeah.
Or is that a
Todd.
clap?
Oh.
Yeah, it was a hand up. I just wanted to give a shout out to one of our board members. I am currently in master's classes with a cohort of ASD teachers, and 4 of them just happen to be teachers at my son's elementary school in Ravenwood out here in Eagle River. And Shelley's name came up as leading the elementary school. And I believe that the thing you talked about with Kodiak High School as well.
With Kids to
Something-
College.
Kids to
Yeah.
College. And the 4 teachers were raving about it. It was part of our discussion that night, things like that. And it just happened that the new director of special ed for ASD was one of our guest speakers, and she was really interested in going out there and seeing what that was all about as well. So Shelley's name
Awesome.
got out there.
Oh, thank you. That's
Oh,
Yeah.
so you must have had Marcy or
Yep,
Heather
Marcy.
in your class. And
Yeah.
so their principal was Robert's elementary school principal. So as well.
All right.
So that's exciting. And we did a much better job this year of reaching out actually to the special ed teachers as well. I have a high school special ed teacher who downloaded our pre-K to 4th grade resources because it's so hard to find career prep resources that were really something that she could work with her students. So thanks.
Yeah, you're welcome.
Made my night.
Great. Anybody else? Anything else? If not, I think we might be
I make a
ready to
motion to
entertain a
adjourn.
motion.
I'll second that.
Okay, all those in favor of concluding this meeting, please signify by saying aye.
Aye, aye, aye.
Aye.
Those
Aye.
that really want to keep going on, you can stay by yourself.